दोस्तों, एक बार फिर से स्वागत है आपका डिस्टेंस लर्निंग स्टूडेंट्स के इस चैनल पर, जिसका नाम है बी प्रिपेयर्ड। सबसे पहले चैनल को लाइक और सब्सक्राइब करके बेल आइकन को प्रेस करें ताकि आप इग्नू और एनआईओएस से रिलेटेड फर्दर इम्पॉर्टेंट मटेरियल को भी प्राप्त करते रहें। आज की वीडियो में हम कवर करेंगे इग्नू के प्रोग्राम बीए जनरल के कोर्स इंट्रोडक्शन टू पॉलिटिकल थ्योरी को, जिसका कोड है BPSC 131। वीडियो में हर क्वेश्चन के आंसर को डिक्टेट किया जाएगा, यानी बोला जाएगा, ताकि आपको असाइनमेंट बनाते समय कोई भी समस्या ना हो। तो आइए शुरू करें। दोस्तों, असाइनमेंट का क्वेश्चन पेपर तो आपके पास होगा ही, और अगर आपके पास असाइनमेंट का क्वेश्चन पेपर नहीं है तो आप इग्नू की वेबसाइट पर जाकर इसे डाउनलोड कर सकते हैं, या फिर अपनी मोबाइल स्क्रीन से भी आप इन क्वेश्चंस को देख सकते हैं। क्वेश्चन पेपर 3 पार्ट्स में डिवाइड किया गया है। पहला सेक्शन, जिसमें 2 क्वेश्चन हैं और हर क्वेश्चन का आंसर आपको 500 वर्ड्स में देना है। तो आइए शुरू करें। पहला क्वेश्चन है, राइट अ नोट ऑन पॉलिटिक्स एज अ पॉलिटिकल एक्टिविटी। इसका आंसर है, पॉलिटिक्स इज़ अ प्रैक्टिकल एक्टिविटी is the discourse and the struggle over organizations of human possibilities. As such, it is about power, that is to say, it is about the capacity of social agents, agencies, and institutions to maintain or transform their environment, social and physical. It is about the resources which underpin this capacity and about the forces that shape and influence its exercise. Accordingly, politics is a phenomena found in all groups, institutions, and societies, cutting across private and public life. It is expressed in all the relations, institutions, and structures that are implicated in the production and reproduction of the life of societies. Politics creates and conditions all aspects of our lives, and it is at the core of the development of collective problem and the modes of their resolutions. A crisp definition of politics, one that fits just those things we instinctively call political as impossible. Politics is a term with varied uses. Perhaps the nearest we can come to a capsule statement is this: politics is the activity by which group reach binding collective decisions through attempting to reconcile differences among their members. There are significant points in these definitions. Politics is a collective activity involving people who accept a common membership or at least acknowledge a shared fate. Thus, Robinson Crusoe could not practice politics. Politics presume an initial diversity of views. If not about goals, then a least means were we all to agree all the time. Politics would be redundant. Politics involve reconciling such differences through discussion and persuasion. Communication is therefore central to politics. Political decisions become authoritative policy for a group binding member to decisions that are implemented by forces. If necessary, politics scarcely exist if decisions are reached solely by violence, force, or use of threat, undermining the process of reaching a collective decisions. The necessity of politics arises from the collective character of human life. We live in a group that must reach collective decisions about sharing resources, about relating to other groups, and about planning for the future. A family discussion where to take its vacation, a country deciding whether to go to war, the world seeking to reach decisions which affect all their members as social creatures. Politics is part of our fate. We have no choices but to practice it. So, although the term politics is often used symbolically to criticize the pursuit of private advantage under the guise of public interest, politics is in fact an inescapable feature of the human condition. Indeed, the Greek philosopher Aristotle argued that man is by nature a political animal. By this, he meant not just that politics is unavoidable, but rather that it is the essential human activity. Political engagement is the feature which most sharply separates us from other species. For Aristotle, people can only express their true nature as reasoning virtues being through participation in a political community. Members of a group rarely agree at last initially on what course of action to follow. Even if there is argument over goal, there may still be a skirmish over means, yet a decision must be reached one way or the other, and one made it will commit all members of the group. Thus, politics consist in procedure for allowing a range of views to be expressed and then combined into an overall decision. As Shively point out, political action may be interpreted as a way to work out rationally the best common solution to a common problem, or at least a way to work out a reasonable common solution. That is, politics consist of public choices. दोस्तों यहाँ पर फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन का आंसर कंप्लीट हो गया है. अब हमें अपने दूसरे यानी सेकंड क्वेश्चन पर, और इसका आंसर भी 500 वर्ड्स में ही हमें देना है. एग्जामिन द इंटर रिलेशनशिप ऑफ पॉलिटिकल थ्योरी एंड अदर रिलेटेड टर्म्स. आंसर: A distinction can be made between political theory and similar terms like political science, political philosophy, and political ideology. Though many treat them interchangeably, the differentiation between political theory and political science arises because of the general shift in intellectual perception brought about by modern science. Political science has tried to provide generalization and laws about politics and political behavior. Political theory reflects upon political phenomena, processes, and institutions, and an actual political behavior by subjecting it to philosophical or ethical criterion. It considers the question of the best political order, which is a part of a larger and a more fundamental question, namely the ideal form of life that a human being ought to lead within a larger community. In the process of answering immediate and local question, it addresses perennial issues, which is why a study of the classical text forms an important component of the discipline. A classic in political theory has the essential ingredients of a great literary work, which, in spite of its local setting, deals with the perennial problem of life and society. It contains eternal knowledge and is an inheritance not of any one culture, place, people, or time, but of the entire humankind. Specific political theories cannot be considered as the correct or final understanding of an event. The meaning of an event is always open to future interpretation from new viewpoint, each explaining and analyzing from a particular standpoint of concern in political life. Furthermore, political theory is critical in its endeavor for it. Given an account of political theory and political science, for they differ in terms of their boundaries and jurisdictions, and not in their aim. Political theory supplies ideas, conflicts, and theories for the purpose and analysis, description, explanation, and criticism, which in turn are incorporated in political science. Political philosophy provides general answer to question such as what is justice, concept of right, the distinction between is and ought, and the larger issues of politics. Political philosophy is a part of normative political theory, for it attempts to establish interrelationship between concepts. It is perhaps accurate to say that every political philosopher is a theorist, through every political theorist is not a political philosopher. Political philosophy is a complex activity which is best understood by analyzing the many ways that the acknowledged masters have practiced it. No single philosopher and no one historical age can be said to have defined is conclusively any more than any one painter or school of painting has practiced all that we mean by painting. Political thought is the though of the whole community that includes the writings and speeches of the articulate section, such as professional politicians, political commentators, society reformers, and ordinary person of a community. दोस्तों, यहाँ हमारा दूसरे क्वेश्चन का आंसर भी कंप्लीट हो गया है। पहले सेक्शन के दोनों क्वेश्चन हमने कंप्लीट कर लिए हैं जो 500 वर्ड्स के थे। अब हम सेक्शन नंबर 2 पर, जिसके क्वेश्चन के आंसर हमें 250 वर्ड्स में देने हैं। तो लेते हैं इस सेक्शन का पहला क्वेश्चन जो असल में है क्वेश्चन नंबर 3। डिस्कस इजाइया बर्लिन्स टू कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ लिबर्टी। आंसर, इन हिज neoclassical two concept of liberty, first published in 1958, Isaiah Berlin tried to reconcile the negative and positive notions of liberty, that is, the notion of liberty as the absence of restrictions with the various views pertaining to its operation. Within the social context, for Berlin's, the negative notion of liberty can be understood by addressing the following questions. What is the area within which the subject, a person or group of person, is or should be left to do, or B, what he is able to be without interference by other person. On the other hand, the positive sense is concerned with the answer to the question what or who is the source of control or interference that can determine someone to do or be this rather than that. Positive theory, on the other hand, does not interpret freedom as simply being left alone but as self-mastery. The theory involves a special theory of the self. The personality is divided into a higher and a lower self. The higher self is the source of an individual genuine and rational long-term goals. What the lower self caters to the irrational desires, which are short-lived and of transient nature. A person is free to the extent that his higher self is in command of his lower self. Thus, a person might be free in the sense of not being restrained by external forces but remains a slave to irrational appetite, as a drug addict, an alcoholic, or a compulsive gambler might be said to be unfree. The main feature of this concept is its openly evaluative nature. Its use is specifically tied to way of life hold to be desirable. The idea of positive liberty involves a special interpretation of the self and assumes not just that there is a realm of activity towards which the individual ought to direct herself or himself. दोस्तों, थर्ड क्वेश्चन का आंसर यहाँ ख़त्म हुआ। अब हम हैं अपने फोर्थ क्वेश्चन पर। व्हाट इज़ इक्वालिटी ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटी? एक्सप्लेन। आंसर है, अंडरस्टूड वेरी सिंपली, इक्वालिटी ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटी मीन्स द रिमूवल ऑफ all obstacles that present personal self-development. It means that career should be open to talent and promotions should be based on ability, status, family connection, social background, and other similar factors must not be allowed to interference. Equality of opportunity is an extremely attractive idea that is concerned with what is desired, what is described as the starting point in life. The implication is that equality required that all individuals begin from a level playing field. However, the consequences of this need not be egalitarian of all, precisely because everyone started equally. unequal outcomes are acceptable and legitimized, this inequality would then be explained in terms of differencing natural talents, ability to work hard, or even luck. Constructed like this, it seems that equality of opportunity provides an equal opportunity to compete in a system that remains hierarchical. If so, then it does not appear to be a substantially egalitarian principle. Equality of opportunity thus points to an inegalitarian society, albeit based on the exalted idea of merit. This idea rests itself on the discrimination between nature and convention. The argument being that distinction that emerges on the basis of different natural equalities, natural qualities like talents, skills, hard work, and so on are morally defensible. However, differences that emerge out of the conventions or socially created differences like poverty, homelessness are not the fact. However, is that it is a specific society predictions that makes a natural distinction like beauty or intelligence a relevant ground for making distinction in society. Thus, we see that the distinction between nature and convention is not as clear cut as egalitarian imply. Equality of opportunity is institutionalized, though the acceptance of keeping careers open to talent, providing fair equal opportunity, and the many variations on the principle of positive discrimination, all of these work to make the system of inequality seem reasonable and acceptable. तो दोस्तों यहाँ पर हमारा फोर्थ क्वेश्चन का आंसर एंड हो गया है और अब हम हैं अपने फिफ्थ क्वेश्चन पर। डिस्क्राइब द सैलिएंट फीचर्स ऑफ जॉन रॉल्स थ्योरी ऑफ जस्टिस। इसका आंसर है डिफरेंट पॉलिटिकल थ्योरीज ऑफर डिफरेंट पिक्चर्स of which would be a really just social order. Two of these theories are the utilitarian theory and John Rawls theory of justice. Or fairness utilitarian theory asserts that the social order in which the largest number of people can have the highest satisfaction of their utility is just, but from its very easy early days, critics have found great difficulties with utilitarian. In this backdrop, Rawls' theory has offered an alternative to utilitarian. Rawls' book, A Theory of Justice, given a final interpretation of the concept to discuss Rawls' theory of justice. His method of approaching moral problem must be mentioned first, which is the contractarian tradition of social philosophy. But at the same time, Rawls' method entails that the conclusion of moral reasoning be always checked and readjusted against initiative, moral notion, and this contrast with other in the contractarian tradition who maintain that the rules of justice are those that would be argued 2. In a hypothetical setting, role places man behind the veil of ignorance in a hypothetical original position where individuals are deprived of the basic knowledge of their wants, interest, skill, abilities of the things that general conflict in actual society, but they will have that Rawls calls a sense of justice. Under these circumstances, Rawls argues people will agree to accept the principle of justice in the lexical order. First is the equality principle, where each person is to have an equal right to the most extensive liberty compatible with a similar liberty to others. Here, equal liabilities can be concretized as the familiar rights of liberty, elementary regimes. They include the equal right to political participation, freedom of expression, religions, liberty, equal before the law and so on. दोस्तों यहाँ सेक्शन नंबर 2 ख़त्म हो गया है। अब हम आ गए हैं अपने सेक्शन नंबर 3 पर और इस सेक्शन के हर क्वेश्चन का आंसर 100 वर्ड्स में देना है। छठा क्वेश्चन है नेचर ऑफ राइट। It is rather easy to identify as to what lies at the root of the rights on the basis of what has been hitherto discussed. The nature of right is hidden in the very meaning of rights. Rights are not only claims, they are in the nature of claims. Rights are claims, but all claims are not rights. Rights are those claims which are recognized as such by society. Without such recognition, rights are empty claims. Society is organized in character, and an individual obviously cannot have any right apart from what the society concedes. To quote Robehouse, rights are what we may expect from other and others from us, and all genuine rights are conditions of social welfare. Thus the rights anyone may claim are partly those which are necessary for the fulfillment of the function that society expects from him. सातवां क्वेश्चन, डेमोक्रेसी minimalist and substantive dimensions. Answer: democracy could be well understood by two different views: procedural minimalist and substantive maximalist. The procedural dimensions merely focuses on procedures or means in place to attain democracy. It argues that regular competitive election on the basis of universal adult franchise and plural political participation would produce a democratically elected government. In his 1942 book Capitalism, Socialism and Democracy, Joseph Schumpeter has said that democracy is institutional arrangement for arriving of political decisions in which individuals acquire the power to decide by means of a competitive struggle for the people's vote. Huntington has also echoed similar views, saying the central procedure of democracy is the selection of leaders through competitive election by the people they govern. Eighth question, civil society. The idea of civil society is deeply entrenched in political, though the idea of civil society is quite old, but it has become important in the last few decades because of the political evolution worldwide, particularly after the fall of the former communist countries in Eastern Europe. Moreover, many time non-state actors, especially non-governmental organizations and various issue-based movements have become influential in shaping public policy, debate sometimes helping the state the formulate and implement policies. The term civil society can be based through the workers of Syrio and other remains to the ancient Greek philosophers, although a classical wage civil society was equated with the state. The modern idea of civil society emerged in the Scottish and continental enlightenment of the late 18th century. 8 क्वेश्चन का आंसर खत्म हुआ. अब हम हैं अपने 9th क्वेश्चन पर. इंटर रिलेशनशिप ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी एंड इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ. Generally, it is believed that unlike the authoritarian regimes, democracy creates better opportunity for both economic growth and cultural progress. Progressive development requires policy choices that lead to a development pathway that provides a wide distribution of the benefit of growth. Democratic regimes are more effective at providing a wide distribution of benefits because of the strong tendency of authoritarian regimes to structure economic activity to words seeking activities enrichment of the ruling cycle and middle paid corruption. Democratic government are also less prone to corruption and rent seeking. They are less predatory. There is, however, no consensus on the correlations between democracy and economic growth. Scholars like Milton Friedman believe that a higher degree of rights are conducive to economic development. दोस्तों, अब हम हैं आज के अपने असाइनमेंट के लास्ट क्वेश्चन पर, जो है 10th क्वेश्चन, सेंसरशिप. The origin of term censorship can be traced to the office of censor established in Rome in 443 BC to regulate morals and ritually purifying the pupil. From this office derives the modern era of the term censorship to denote the practice of inning, restricting and prohibiting public acts, express ions of opinion and aesthetic performances. Censorship is today generally regarded as a relief of an unenlightenment and much more oppressive age. The suppression or control of idea, public communication and information circulated within a society is termed as censorship. Ritu Menon argues censorship is when a work of art expressing an idea which does not fall under current convention is seized, cut up, withdrawn, impounded, ignored, maligned or otherwise made inaccessible to its audience. तो दोस्तों, यहाँ पर असाइनमेंट के सारे आंसर्स पूरे हुए। उम्मीद है कि असाइनमेंट आपके लिए यूज़फुल होगा। मिलते हैं जल्द ही अगली वीडियो में।